There are moments in life when reality glitches. A dream bleeds into waking life. A stranger says the exact words your soul needed. Time folds, and you just know something deeper is at play. Carl Jung didn't dismiss these moments. He saw them as messages, transmissions from the soul, proof that consciousness is not trapped in the brain, but woven into the quantum field itself. Long before the world whispered of manifestation or spoke the language of vibration, Jung was decoding the architecture of the human spirit, mapping the unconscious not as a flaw in our design, but as the gateway to higher dimensions. He saw symbols as energy, dreams as bridges, the shadow as a portal, and deep within his work lies a truth so potent it could fracture the illusion of separateness we've all been taught to believe. This isn't just about Jung. It's about you and the power you've always held. The power to shape reality not through force, but through alignment, through inner coherence, through the sacred recognition that you are both the observer and the field. The forgotten teaching you're about to hear isn't theory, it's a remembering. And once you hear it, reality won't look the same again. Carl Jung didn't merely see the psyche as a bundle of thoughts, memories, and neuroses. He saw it as a multidimensional system, a kind of living laboratory where the inner and outer worlds meet. To him, consciousness was not confined to the skull. It extended, resonated, influenced. It was a transmitter and a receiver, tuned into frequencies of meaning, patterns of time, and waves of energy. In many ways, Jung hinted at what today's quantum physicists and mystics alike propose, that mind and matter are not separate, they dance in mutual reflection. The unconscious, especially, was not a passive abyss. Jung understood it as dynamic, intelligent, and deeply connected to the fabric of existence. He believed the unconscious communicated in symbols, yes, but those symbols weren't just psychological, they were energetic. Each archetype, each image, was a pattern of vibration, carrying charge, momentum, and influence. When engaged with consciously, these patterns could quite literally alter one's frequency, and by extension, the frequency of reality itself. This is where Jung's vision cracks open the quantum doorway. In quantum mechanics, we understand the observer affects the observed, the famous observer effect. Jung's insight? The unconscious is the hidden observer. And unless we integrate it, unless we make the unconscious conscious, we continue collapsing reality unconsciously, projecting unresolved energies onto the world around us. What we call reality becomes a mirror of what we have not yet faced within. The psyche, then, is not just internal, it is cosmic. Jung's teachings invite us to see our own mind as a tuning fork, constantly vibrating in resonance with outer events, inner desires, hidden fears. Change the frequency of your consciousness, and you change the range of experiences that come into resonance. In this light, thoughts aren't just ephemeral, they are vibrational instructions written into the field. So when Jung said, "He who looks outside dreams, he who looks inside awakens," he wasn't being poetic, he was being literal. The inner gaze collapses possibility into presence. It transforms the psyche from a reactive mechanism into a quantum interface, through which energy, intention, and attention shape the very weave of what we call real. To Jung, synchronicity wasn't mere coincidence. It was a cosmic signal, a wink from the quantum matrix beneath everyday appearances. He described it as meaningful coincidence, where inner thought and outer event mirrored each other with such precision that probability couldn't explain it. But what if Jung was actually describing a phenomenon of quantum entanglement? Two realities, previously unrelated, suddenly snap into resonance, not through cause and effect, but through vibration and significance. In a linear world, time moves like an arrow, but in Jung's world and in quantum mechanics, time folds, it curves, it echoes back. Synchronicity is a glimpse into that non-linear terrain where the mind and the universe momentarily synchronize in a shared frequency. It's not just about noticing patterns. It's about realizing that consciousness is weaving them. When a song plays the exact moment you're thinking of someone, or a book opens to the precise insight you needed, it's not random. It's resonance. Jung was deeply influenced by the I Ching, the ancient Chinese oracle based on patterns, flow, and timing. He believed this system tapped into the same synchronistic current, not predicting the future, but revealing the deeper pattern beneath appearances. In this sense, synchronicity is not about the event itself, but about the symbolic alignment. The moment when your inner world is so attuned that the universe must respond in kind. The field listens, reflects, responds. Quantum physicists describe the universe as a field of potentialities. Nothing is fixed until observed. Synchronicity is the moment when your observation, your focus, your emotional charge becomes so aligned that potential collapses into precision. The event happens, not because you caused it, but because you matched it. Frequency first, then form. So when Jung wrote about synchronicity, he was decoding a law that modern science is just beginning to touch. That time is not a prison, causality is not absolute, and meaning is a frequency that bends the structure of reality. When your soul and the universe speak the same language, events harmonize with your vibration. This is no fantasy. It's the secret clockwork of quantum mind. Jung introduced the idea of archetypes as universal symbols, timeless templates embedded within the collective unconscious. But what if these weren't just psychological ideas? What if they were energetic blueprints, active vibrational fields influencing not just thoughts, but the architecture of reality itself? In this light, archetypes aren't metaphors. They're frequency codes, shaping how we perceive, act, and manifest in the quantum realm. Think of the archetype of the hero. It exists not only in stories, but in the very structure of courage, struggle, and transformation. When someone aligns with this archetype, when they step into the vibration of bravery and breakthrough, they begin to attract synchronicities, challenges, and triumphs that mirror the hero's path. Why? Because archetypes, like strange attractors in quantum theory, organize energy. They pull reality into patterned coherence. Jung believed archetypes operated through symbols, dreams, and myths, but he also saw them as autonomous energies, living forces that act through us, often unconsciously. When we are unaware, these energies dominate us. But when we become conscious of the archetype we're inhabiting, whether it be the victim, the lover, the warrior, or the magician, we reclaim authorship. We stop being the puppet and become the dreamer. Modern mystics and physicists alike now explore similar terrain through terms like morphic fields and resonance patterns. These concepts point to invisible structures that hold form and influence behavior across space and time. When you tune into a particular archetype, you're literally syncing up with a field of frequency that stretches beyond your individual self, like plugging into a cosmic database of potential. So Jung's archetypes aren't relics of the past. They are quantum keys. They help unlock timelines, shift identities, and alter what's possible. When you meditate on, embody, or integrate an archetype consciously, you engage in frequency tuning. You no longer move randomly through life. You begin crafting reality through symbolic alignment, shaping your outer world by embodying the deep codes of the inner. Carl Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This wasn't just psychological advice, it was a metaphysical key. The shadow, as Jung described it, is not merely the repressed self. It's the hidden observer, the unacknowledged energy shaping reality behind the scenes. Just as in quantum physics, the observer collapses the wave function. Our unconscious beliefs, fears, and unresolved emotions collapse potential into patterns, often the ones we least desire. The shadow contains all the parts of ourselves we deny, fear, or reject. But rejection doesn't erase, it merely pushes energy into deeper layers. There it still operates. It draws people, events, and experiences into our life to force recognition. The universe, Jung might argue, doesn't punish. It mirrors. And the more hidden the shadow, the more dramatically it manifests externally. Not to torment us, but to be integrated, to be brought back into coherence. Jung saw the shadow not as an enemy, but as a doorway. By engaging with it, not through shame or judgment, but through curiosity and presence, we shift its vibration. What was unconscious becomes observed. And in quantum language, what is observed changes. This is more than metaphor. Neuroplasticity, epigenetics, and quantum biology now reveal that awareness reshapes the body, the brain, and the field around us. The observer isn't passive. It is creative. Integration of the shadow is like alchemy. It transforms lead into gold, fragmentation into wholeness. Every fear reclaimed, every wound held with consciousness reclaims energy that was once leaking through projection. The moment we become aware of a shadow pattern is the moment we reclaim our role as the quantum observer. No longer collapsing unwanted outcomes, but consciously co-creating from a place of unity. So when Jung spoke of the shadow, he wasn't warning us. He was inviting us to become lucid inside our own energetic script, to stop reacting and start rewriting. Because once we see the hidden observer within, we begin to truly direct the course of our vibration, and therefore the shape of our reality. To Jung, dreams were not just byproducts of the sleeping mind. They were messages from the deeper layers of the soul. But more than that, he saw them as bridges. Bridges to what? To the collective unconscious, yes, but also to other dimensions, other timelines, other versions of self. Jung often hinted that dreams were more than symbolic processing. They were communications, energetic transmissions from a broader field of intelligence beyond the waking ego. In quantum terms, a dream may be a bleed-through from a parallel reality, a moment when the veil between this world and another thins, allowing symbols and sensations to cross over. Ever wake up from a dream that felt more real than waking life? That's not fantasy, that's resonance. Your consciousness temporarily tuned into another frequency, another expression of you, where the laws were different, the lessons deeper, the truth more direct. Jung believed dreams were compensatory, showing us what the conscious mind resists. But more than that, they were initiatory. Each dream carries not just metaphor, but vibration. The image of a snake, a flooded house, a dying loved one. These aren't just psychological artifacts. They are energetic keys. They stir frequencies within us that activate healing, insight, or transformation. If we're willing to feel, not just interpret. Lucid dreaming, the conscious awakening within the dream, is a form of quantum mastery. It mirrors the same awakening we strive for in waking life, to remember that we are the dreamer, not just the dream. When we become conscious within a dream, we stop reacting to shadows and start directing the scene. Jung's teachings implied that waking life offers this same opportunity. The more we explore our dreams, the more we awaken to the architecture of reality itself. So don't dismiss your dreams as random firings of the brain. They are messages in multidimensional bottles, sent from the quantum ocean of your deeper self. They are glimpses into the blueprint of reality. And if you listen closely, they will teach you how to navigate this world by remembering the ones beyond it. For Jung, the process of individuation wasn't just about becoming a better person. It was about becoming a whole being, psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually integrated. But what if this journey wasn't confined to inner healing? What if individuation is actually the alignment of your energetic field with your quantum self, the multidimensional version of you that already exists in perfect coherence? In this view, Individuation becomes frequency tuning, aligning your inner vibration with your highest potential. The quantum self is not a fantasy. It's the version of you already living in resonance with clarity, creativity, and inner peace. Jung spoke of the self as the unifying archetype, the center that holds all opposites. In quantum terms, this self isn't bound to time. It exists as a field of possibility, a standing wave of who you could be if all fragments were harmonized. Every step of individuation, every shadow integrated, every projection withdrawn, brings your current self closer to that vibration. This is why inner work creates outer shifts. The more coherent your field becomes, the more synchronistic your life appears. You stop chasing change and start attracting alignment. From this space, manifestation becomes effortless. Not because you're doing it right, but because you're no longer interfering with your own signal. You're vibrating from the wholeness of the self. And reality has no choice but to reflect that. Individuation is not linear. It spirals. It returns to old wounds with deeper insight, revealing new layers of power hidden in old pain. But each time you choose authenticity over adaptation, presence over projection, love over fear, you harmonize your field. And as Greg Braden would suggest, coherent emotion is the interface between heart and field, between you and the quantum web. So individuation isn't self-improvement, it's self-remembrance. It's the alchemical return to your own source frequency. And when you embody that, not as a concept but as a lived vibration, you become the quantum self, the observer, the creator, and the mirror all in one. Jung's concept of the collective unconscious was revolutionary, a vast psychic ocean beneath individual awareness, filled with shared memories, archetypes, and energetic patterns. But today, through the lens of quantum consciousness and Rupert Sheldrake's morphic field theory, we can see even deeper. The collective unconscious isn't just a metaphorical storehouse, it's a real living field, a resonant web of information that connects all beings, transcending space and time. Sheldrake proposed that morphic fields are invisible templates that shape the behavior and development of organisms. These fields carry memory, not just personal memory, but collective memory. They influence everything, from how birds flock to how humans inherit patterns across generations. When you feel a sudden wave of emotion that doesn't belong to you, or when an idea pops into your head seemingly from nowhere, you're likely tuning into this shared field. Jung tapped into this same awareness through dreams, symbols, and synchronicity. He saw how certain images repeated across cultures, across time, not because they were taught, but because they were transmitted. The collective unconscious is not stored in brains, it's stored in the field. And each of us is like a radio, tuning into different frequencies based on our beliefs, wounds, desires, and level of consciousness. When two or more people gather with aligned intention, their fields begin to cohere. This is why healing circles, prayer groups, and collective meditations have measurable effects. The quantum field responds to coherent intention. The collective unconscious is the substrate, and consciousness is the sculptor. What we believe, feel, and focus on doesn't just affect us, it echoes into the field, influencing others who are vibrating on similar wavelengths. So, when Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, he was describing a spiritual internet, a living matrix of shared data, energy, and symbolic resonance. And every time you shift your own vibration, you're not only healing yourself, you're reprogramming the field for everyone. That's the hidden power of awareness. The moment you awaken, you send out a frequency that makes it easier for others to awaken too. Carl Jung was obsessed with alchemy, not for its literal attempt to turn lead into gold, but for its deep symbolic language of inner transformation. He believed the ancient alchemists were encoding spiritual truths in metaphor. But what if they were also encoding something more, something vibrational? something quantum. In many ways, the alchemical journey mirrors the process of shifting consciousness from dense, reactive patterns to high-frequency coherence. It is the original science of personal reality transformation. In the alchemical model, transformation occurs in stages: nigredo, darkness; albedo, purification; rubedo, illumination. Jung saw these not as mystical nonsense, but as stages of psychological and spiritual evolution. When you're in nigredo, you're facing the shadow, the death of the old identity. In albedo, clarity arises, a purification of the emotional field. In rubedo, the quantum self emerges, coherent, integrated, radiant. These aren't just symbols, they're frequencies. Jung knew that true transformation wasn't linear. It required descent, dissolution, and surrender before illumination could emerge. This mirrors what happens in the nervous system, in brainwave shifts, even in quantum decoherence. The collapse of the old field is necessary before a new one can be stabilized. In other words, breakdown is not failure, it's alchemical, it's vibrational transmutation in action. Modern science is catching up. Neuroplasticity shows that the brain rewires when attention, emotion, and repetition are combined, just like the alchemist combined intention, heat, and matter. Epigenetics proves that emotional healing changes gene expression, and quantum physics confirms that consciousness isn't just a passenger, it's a causal agent in the creation of reality. In all of this, the ancient alchemical wisdom returns, through Jung, through mystics, through you. So when Jung studied the alchemists, he wasn't being nostalgic. He was preserving a sacred roadmap, one that merges psychology, mysticism, and quantum transformation. The alchemical path is still alive. It is the process of becoming vibrationally sovereign, of transmuting fear into power, separation into unity, and the fragmented self into radiant coherence. The gold they sought wasn't metal, it was you, remembered, awakened, and vibrating in full alignment with the quantum field. So much of what we call reality is nothing more than a mirror of the unconscious, shaped by stories we didn't write, symbols we never questioned, and vibrations we weren't aware we were tuning into. But Jung handed us a compass, a way to navigate not just the psyche, but the very matrix of the universe. He showed us that transformation doesn't begin with changing the world. It begins with becoming conscious of the one within. This is the forgotten teaching. You are not a passive mind trapped in flesh. You are a living frequency, entangled with meaning, collapsing waveforms with every thought, every feeling, every intention. And the more you integrate your shadow, the more you listen to your dreams, the more you embody the archetypes of your true self, the more you remember that you were never separate from the field to begin with. So let this be your invitation, not just to think differently, but to feel differently, to live like your energy matters, because it does. You are the dreamer, the observer, and the artist of the real. And the more you awaken to that truth, the more reality responds in kind. If this transmission stirred something deep inside you, like the memory of something ancient returning, then honor it. Like this video, subscribe to the Cosmic Awakening channel, and join us as we continue to unearth the wisdom hidden between worlds.